Welcome, Chad. We talked about this earlier, and you know you're being recorded for training purposes.
Yes.
And that's okay with you?
Yes.
All right. The questions I'm going to be asking you have to do with the last week, so just the past 7 days. If you can just give me how you feel about certain responses to these questions. So in the past week, have you been feeling sad or unhappy?
Yes.
Can you describe what it has been like for you?
Just kind of blue. Don't really feel like doing anything. Kind of hard to get motivated.
Does the feeling lift if you something good happens?
I guess doesn't really. Don't really notice the difference. So everything's just kind of blah.
Does the feeling ever go away completely?
No.
What things have made you feel better?
I don't really know if there's anything this last week that has.
And how often did you feel this way this past week? How many days of the 7 days?
Probably all 7.
And how much of each day?
I would say most of the day. Yeah, all day.
How have you been feeling about the future in the past week?
I guess I really haven't thought about it too much.
Have you been discouraged or pessimistic?
No, not really. Just haven't really thought about it. Just kind of do my day-to-day things that I have to do.
So to summarize, you've been feeling sad or depressed most of the days of the past week, and you don't really have any pessimistic thoughts about the future.
Yeah.
And nothing really makes you happy or gives you a lift. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you tell me if somebody else has said that you look sad or depressed this week?
Yeah, I guess my mom and a couple coworkers.
What about when you look in the mirror? Do you think you look sad?
Yeah, I would say.
So when you look in the mirror, do you think you look gloomy or depressed?
Yeah, just kind of sad.
How sad or depressed do you think you've looked over the past week compared to the way you judge yourself normally?
I would say a lot.
And most of the days, 4 days, 5 days?
I'd say pretty much every day.
So if the past week you were down most days, is there anything that made you smile or laugh?
I'll be watching TV. Some things might be kind of funny, but that's about it.
So you might feel happy inside, but you couldn't actually show a smile or a laugh?
Yeah, that would be a good description.
Okay. So you feel when you look in the mirror you look sad, and people have actually said you look sad most of the time this past week?
Yeah, not as outgoing.
Okay. I want to talk to you about the sleeping. How have you been sleeping the last week compared to normal?
Not as good.
Have you had trouble falling asleep?
No, not falling asleep, more staying asleep.
So you go to sleep about, what time do you go to sleep?
Usually around 11.
And it takes you how long to fall asleep?
20 minutes, maybe 30.
And that hasn't changed?
No.
But you haven't been able to stay asleep through the night?
Correct.
So when you wake up, how long does it take you to fall back to sleep?
Usually a couple hours, probably.
2 hours or more? Or?
About 2 hours.
And do you feel like your sleeping has been restless or disturbed?
No. When I'm asleep, but I just can't stay asleep.
So you wake up in the middle of the night and it takes you another couple hours to go back to sleep?
Yes.
Do you ever get out of bed?
Yeah, sometimes I just watch TV or try to read a book or something.
Okay. So the sleep pattern has changed since you've been sad and depressed, especially over the past week?
Yes.
What about the appetite, your appetite for the past week compared to normal?
Oh, that's changed a little. I have a hard time making myself eat. It just doesn't taste as good, or, not really interested.
Have you been less interested in food in general?
Yeah, I would say.
Does food taste as good as usual?
No.
So how much less does it taste good to you?
Well, I guess kind of a lot, because I don't really want to eat, so it just doesn't taste good, so why eat?
So you had to force yourself to eat?
Yeah, I would say
Have other people urged you to eat?
yes.
Has that made you eat then?
Yeah, but sometimes I just, they want me to eat, but I just don't feel like eating, so I just kind of just play with my food to make it look like I'm eating.
If they didn't persuade you, would you eat?
Probably not, no.
Okay. So you really need persuasion to eat.
Yes.
Have you had trouble concentrating or collecting your thoughts in the past week?
Yeah, I would say.
Now, is that at home and at work, or just at work, or when does that occur?
Probably both.
Can you give me some examples?
When I try to read a book or something, I have to read, the same thing over and over to make it make sense, or I kind of daze off and not really pay attention to what I'm reading.
And how often has that occurred over the past week?
Quite a bit, maybe 4 or 5 days.
Has that given you any problems?
Not really. Not yet.
So at work you're concentrating okay?
Yes, I guess I have more trouble with my own, like when I do wake up at night reading a book, I can't really focus on it, or, yeah, I would say I just can't do it.
So on top of not being able to concentrate, how do you feel when someone is perhaps talking to you? Do you lose track of the conversation?
Yes.
How bad is that?
Maybe 4 or 5 days. Quite a bit, actually, I guess, if I think about it.
So 4 or 5 days, you've had a conversation with people, you have trouble following what they're saying?
Yeah, that just kind of trails off. I don't really, maybe get to the end of the conversation, they have to repeat things. I'm asking, what did they say? And then when I walk away, I don't really know what I just did.
So you would say you're unable to read or converse without great difficulty? Or?
Yes.
And this has been going on for 5 of the 7 days this past week.
Yeah.
Have you had trouble getting started at things that you normally wouldn't have trouble with in the past week?
Maybe a little.
Like what things?
Maybe like getting out of bed. I have to make myself try to get out of bed. Maybe like taking a shower and things in the morning. I really have to make myself do that.
And once you get started, is it still more of an effort to get something done?
Yeah.
So a simple thing in the morning you would have trouble completing, like getting dressed?
Well, like on the weekends, since I don't have to go anywhere, I figure why bother. So a lot of times I just kind of lounge around. But getting ready for work, it takes some effort.
Now once you start doing something, you feel like you're doing it more slowly or with more sluggishness than you would normally do it?
No, I guess once I get started, I know I have to do it, so I just do it. But I may skip some things like breakfast, if I don't eat because I'm not really hungry. So where I normally would eat, I don't bother.
So to summarize, it sounds that you're having trouble getting started with certain things, but once you do get started, you do them at the same pace that you used to do them.
Yes.
That's good, thank you.